Okay.
All right.
Hi, I'm Albert Yanfa.
I'm Ryan Hayes, and we're with the law firm of Yanfa Hayes. Today we are giving you a legal analysis of the soon-to-be cult favorite 50 Shades of Grey movie that we unfortunately went to see last week.
Yeah, now, we're not trying to disparage the movie. We're not going to give any opinion about the acting, the writing, any of that. We are here simply to give a legal analysis. In other words, is it legal? I don't think we could have picked a better movie to start out these segments with. Now, we are going to be discussing the details of the movie, so if you have not seen it and you care about spoilers, there's going to be spoilers everywhere. No further warning. You've been warned.
Also, this is not intended to give legal advice. We are going to be taking a legal shot at it, but, of course, consult a lawyer for anything that we're about to say. This is for entertainment purposes only. Hopefully it makes you smile.
Yes. With that said, let's jump right into it. This is a movie about a boy looking for love. This is an R-rated movie, folks, so we are going to be talking about some very adult topics, so this review is not fit for all audiences, just like the movie.
Put the kids in the other room.
Yes. As you know, because hopefully you've seen this movie, Christian requires Anastasia to sign a contract consenting to certain physical activities.
All right, so the big issue is obviously the contract that he's having her sign. As you know, a contract has two different parts. There's the offer and the acceptance, plus there has to be some form of consideration. As you can imagine, this falls woefully short in this movie.
In fact, at one point, Anastasia even says, "What's in it for me?" which is the consideration part of a contract. Normally, when you sign a contract, you provide me a service, I provide you a service in return, money. But
an acorn?
An acorn. It doesn't have to be much. It can be anything. In this movie, he says, "Oh, it's the privilege of being with me, dating me, hanging out with me."
So he proposes a contract to her, and there's a scene in the movie where they both come to his office. That part of the contract is his proposal. That is his proposed offer.
And what does Anastasia do?
She looks at it. She goes through it. She now, because she doesn't accept the offer, she now makes a counteroffer.
That's right.
Which is never accepted by Christian.
Right. She made a counteroffer by striking out some provisions of things he would like to do to her, and wrote in some different things, including the ability to go out on dates twice a week, I think was one. We won't go into the things that were stricken, but needless to say, it was a counteroffer. Ergo, a new contract was created.
Let's assume that the Christian's contract was the first contract, and that's the one that's going to govern. There never really is an acceptance by this girl. Anastasia, you see a head nod twice. Only at the very end does he finally say, "Are you okay with all this?" And she says, "Yes." As Mr. Gray's counsel, I would strongly advise him, he does not have an accepted contract at this point. I'd be very, very careful about what you're doing until you have that signed consent.
Now, somewhere along the way, Christian decides to shower her with some gifts, but the biggest one is an automobile. What problems did we see with that one?
That just stood out like a sore thumb to me in the movie. You can't just take somebody's car and sell it.
It's called theft.
It's a big problem.
Theft. In a nutshell, he stole her car. Without permission, he stole her car.
One of the many things Christian Grey
tried to steal and did steal,
and would end up in jail for had this movie been in reality. And spoiler alert, as we said earlier on, they do end up having sex. Gotta be careful, Christian.
Not only did they do that, partake in that activity, but they did so in his apartment, his downtown apartment, which had floor-to-ceiling windows.
What are the neighbors going to think?
That's, I would say that's some type of public nudity, indecent exposure, corruption of a minor, if there's some children in the building across the way seeing this. So, serious legal issue there. Ryan, guess what?
Yeah.
You're adopted.
That's good.
That's great, right?
Yeah.
Public record. I just Googled it.
I feel violated.
You should. In the movie, Christian flat out says, "Oh, my adoption is public record." why are you throwing that in my face? It's not public record. You can't just go up to someone and tell them that they're adopted. In the state of Washington, where this movie takes place, there was a law that was passed in 2013 that makes it easier for an adoptee to get information about who their parents were. But it's not public record.
No.
That's ridiculous. Now, there was the underlying theme of alcohol throughout this movie.
Right. That's something I'm very familiar with. I think alcohol would have made this movie better for you and I as well, but alcohol should not be present. Nobody should be under the influence of alcohol, or the person who's trying to get out of the contract will certainly have a defense to that. In this movie, you had plenty of negotiations that were going on, all of which had alcohol involved. Whether or not it was when Anastasia was drunk dialing Christian from the bar, which leads to public intoxication and indecency and public...
well, she threw up right on the sidewalk, so, I mean...
certainly she is disturbing the peace at the very least.
She could be handcuffed for that. Our legal analysis of this movie, is it legal?
Is what legal?
Yeah.
There's a lot in this movie that didn't pass the... wouldn't pass the... what would you say, the bar?
So, our legal opinion on this whole story, was there a contract?
If I were Mr. Gray's attorney, I would say you should have hired me long ago, before you drew up this contract, and certainly before you started flogging anybody, because now Anastasia has, one, never consented to this contract, and number two, there's no confidentiality to it. So get ready to appear in her blog and on her Facebook page, and anybody else who wants to listen, and potentially your business empire may go by the wayside.
Yes, and if you're Ryan, your MySpace page.
Oh yeah, but I still think it's good. I like it. When you are given a contract, you need to take that to an attorney.
Yes. Yes.
Before she even got to that point, if I am giving this young girl advice, if a guy like that shows up at the hardware store, you need to run and call the police.
Run.
Immediately.
Yeah.
But as far as the contract goes, I just don't think it's enforceable, and therefore I think Christian has opened himself up to criminal liability for the batteries, the stalking, the public nudity, the unlawful carnal knowledge with a virgin, if those laws do exist. Theft. And I think that he, at this point, certainly has the most to lose, and probably should have learned the lesson. And some people just have to learn this lesson the hard way. It's better to get a lawyer involved at the start rather than trying to put that train back on the track.
Which Anastasia did not do. And since this movie was released, there was actually a live, real-life case of this where a college student apparently tried to reenact some of these things in the movie with his girlfriend, and it didn't end up so good for him.
No, and like anything else, I mean, two consenting adults can pretty much do what they want, but both of them have to have the same idea of what they're going to end up doing. Like that contract said in this movie where it said other, you better make sure there's no others when it comes to flogging a loved one.
Let's just leave it at that. Well, that's been our review of 50 Shades of Grey. Feel free to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below. If you thought we missed anything, let us know of that too. So we look forward to doing some other movies in the future. Thanks for watching. Again, visit lawsuitandtie.com for more movie reviews.
Bye.